All right, now that we have cut the grooves in our side pieces and in our end pieces, the next step is we are going to machine rabbets onto the ends of both of our side pieces, and we're going to be doing this on the side with the groove already cut in it. And these rabbets are going to go in 16 millimeters, and they're going to be
3/8 of an inch deep.
So they should go just to the same height as our groove and go in this way 16 millimeters. Before we change the height of our router bit, we're going to ensure that the power to the router table is off. And then we're going to use our depth gauge, which we used in the step to route the groove into our side and end pieces. And because we want our rabbet to be as deep as that, we're going to set it at 3/8, which is where we left off at the groove. So that was our final height. So 3/8 is right here. So it's the second step on this side. So in order to do that, we are going to lower our router bit a little bit. And then we're going to slide our depth gauge at 3/8 over top of that point. And then we're going to raise it just until it contacts that 3/8 mark. So there, it's just contacting, it's lifting it a bit. So I'm going to lower it until it touches the table. And now I know that my router bit is set at 3/8 above the table, which is the same height as our groove. And now that the height of our router bit is set, just a reminder, power to the table should be off at this point. We're going to next move on to setting the distance of our fence. So we want to cut away 16 millimeters from our side piece on the inside of the groove for our rabbet. So we're going to use our side piece, which is also 16 millimeters, to set our distance. So it should come, our router bit, the furthest point of the router bit should come just to the edge of our side piece and maybe a hair past it, which we can sand off later. And once we have that in about the right position, we want to look at the numbers on either side of our scales to make sure that they're the same so that our fence is parallel to our miter gauge. So right now we're about 1/16 above the 1 inch, and here we're a bit more than that. So we want to play around with making that the same. And then again, double checking with our side piece to make sure that it's not, hasn't gone in too far or out too far. So here it looks like the router bit just pokes past just a little bit, and we're even on both sides. So I can now hold the fence in position and tighten my fence down on these two knobs. And I'll show you a bit closer what those scales look like. So here's an overview of how our router bit and router table fence is currently set up. If we put our side piece over, we can see that just the corner of the router bit pokes out. So that's where we want the adjustment to be. And if I show you on the side of the fence, there is a ruler with metric on the left, imperial on the right. And on the metric side, it shows that we're at about 14 millimeters. And if we check on the right, it shows that we are about the same. So that way we know our fence is going to be running parallel to the slot in the router table where our miter gauge will sit, where we'll push our side piece across our router bit. Now that the height of the router bit is correct and the distance from the fence to the edge of the router bit is correct, the next step is we need to take our side piece, and a reminder, we want the groove facing downwards. We're going to put it on the table and we're going to secure it with 2 clamps. The first clamp is going to hold, be connected to our miter gauge and be flush with the top of our side piece. So we put that down and grip that so it's just contacting the top of it, and that's going to prevent this from lifting. And the reason we do that is because when we put the second clamp on, it's going to go over the miter gauge and to the edge of our side piece. And when we pull these clamps tight, they have a tendency to want to pull our piece up. So that's the point of having this first one down, is to prevent that and keeping it on the table. So before we put this on, we want to make sure that we're in the right position. So we want our side piece to just take a little bit of material off from the first pass. So we adjust that there, then put our clamp on. And now when we go, we have one clamp holding this down, one clamp holding the side piece from left to right. And when we go to turn the machine on, we'll also want dust collection on, as this machine will make quite a lot of chips and we want them to be evacuated through this tube. And the process will look like this. We will have our hands on the miter gauge, putting force down on our side piece. We'll run it across all the way and back. Then we will loosen this one clamp, push it about 1/8 of an inch closer to the router bit, retighten the clamp, and do that again until our side piece fully contacts our fence, and then do one last pass. This should give us the perfect 16mm rabbet on the end of our side pieces. Now we have finished off at the router table. We have rabbets in the ends of both of our side pieces, and they are set to the same depth as the groove in our side pieces as well. You'll notice there will be some fuzzies that you'll have to clean up that the router table leaves, but those will come off really easily. And now we are ready to move on to the next step.